Found these free Harvard digital photography classes online.
Moving on now to take a look at the rear of a camera. You'll notice that here there's not a lot of optical stuff that's going on that's interesting, but instead you can see that there's a lot of circuit boards and a lot of computer-looking type devices that are inside of a digital camera that help us produce the image that we can. And every manufacturer has their own sets of chips, basically, and algorithms that they use within it. In this case, you can see that Canon has highlighted their own proprietary chip called Digic, which is their sort of processing chip that they love to market all over the place. Moving on now to take a look at the rear of a camera. You'll notice that here there's not a lot of optical stuff that's going on that's interesting, but instead you can see that there's a lot of circuit boards and a lot of computer-looking type devices that are inside of a digital camera that help us produce the image that we can. And every manufacturer has their own sets of chips, basically, and algorithms that they use within it. In this case, you can see that Canon has highlighted their own proprietary chip called Digic, which is their sort of processing chip that they love to market all over the place. But this technology is really what helps us process, or rather what helps the camera process the photos and save them to your memory card, which is over here, as quickly as it does. And in fact, to give you an idea, for those of you that are familiar with computers, or rather some computer terms. So this is a 20D. This is a camera from 2004, so it is now 5 years old. And it can take 8 megapixel photos, which may or may not sound impressive, at a rate of about 5 frames per second. And so if you do the math, you figure out that that means that this camera can actually process about 60 megabytes per second of data. Let's see, so that's about a tenth of a CD, for example, if you want an analogy. But nowadays, and so right now, the Canon world is sort of a flutter with a camera that Canon is rumored to come out with, or rather to announce tomorrow. And so I don't have any special knowledge about this except what I read late at night on Canon rumor sites. But it's supposed to be this super big, super fancy camera that is going to be very, very fast. And if we are to believe the rumored specs, it is going to be 18 megapixels at 8 frames a second, which is a significant upgrade. And in fact, that, rather than being about 60 megabytes per second in this 5-year-old camera, that is now 240 megabytes per second in 2009 form. So this tells us a couple of things. So unlike film cameras, digital cameras are now advancing at a rate that is similar to computers. So if you've ever bought a computer, go back to Best Buy or the Apple Store the next day and find out that it's been upgraded or made cheaper or something like that. The same thing is happening now with camera bodies. So if you're going to buy a digital camera, I'm going to say this several times today, to hammer the point home, don't waste all your money on the camera itself. Instead, focus your money on lenses, because lenses do not depreciate in value. They do not change as frequently as the bodies do these days.
30 millimeter,
so buying lenses is more of an investment than buying camera bodies. And in fact, for the most part, I recommend buying used cameras, because this is a 5-year-old camera, but it has better quality than a lot of the compact digital cameras out there today, and it's still very useful. It's still quick. 5 frames per second is not slow by any measure, and you can still get high-quality used cameras at a reduced price. So don't waste your money buying new cameras unless you know you love digital photography and you have budgeted a certain amount of money, and I mean significant amounts of money, to purchase new camera bodies as soon as they are released. I've been waiting 5 years for a replacement for this camera, and if this rumored one comes true, it will be interesting. But I know that I love this stuff, and that I've saved money, squirreled money away elsewhere to buy a new camera body. But otherwise, using a used camera body is more than enough. Okay, so that's 2009. That's supposed to be a pretty good camera, and I'll certainly tell you in a couple of weeks if that has come true or not. But we should take a look back at where digital cameras actually came from. So 5 years ago, it sounds not as impressive as some of the stuff that's coming out today in 2009, But what about back, how about almost 35 years ago, in 1975, when the first digital camera was born by Eastman Kodak engineer Steven Sasson. So again, this was back in 1975. And it looks like this, which is a little bit bigger than what we are used to today, even by SLR standards.